Hey there, this is K4A, Knowledge for All Educational Videos channel. We are continuing with learning GameMaker Studio 2 drag and drop system, and in today's video we are going to try to learn how and when to use action which is called go to next room. In a couple of previous videos we have made some kind of simple game. It's not yet a game, but we have a player which is white square and can be moved left, right, up and down. We have some kind of enemies falling down from the top, restart and exit button, and that's it. But for the most game you will need to have a couple of levels to make it more fun and interesting for players to play. So that's also doesn't it doesn't matter in which game engine you make the game. When you make the game you will need lots of levels, so again that's something you will need for sure. And in GameMaker Studio it's very easy to add new rooms and add some kind of portals to move from room to room, which we will do now. So first of all, currently we have only one room in the game. It's called room 1 and it's 800 times x 600, sorry. So first of all I will right click on the rooms on my left asset browser, and then click on create room. Yeah, telephone is ringing, and the room will be automatically called room 2, and it will be different in size. Width and height is different than 8 times 600, so I will change that later. Let's try it with that size, and also the name. So far so good, I will leave it with room 2. So we have a room. What else do we need? We need some kind of game object here in first room to take us to room 2. You can think of it as a trigger, as a portal, as a door, whatever you like. So currently I don't have I can use maybe this yellow circle which is going to transfer me to next room, but I don't want to do that. You can actually use any kind of game object you have here. We have made a couple of those, and just add the action on those, but we will make a new object with a new sprite, and we will call it portal or a door. So I will go to the sprites folder, right click and say create sprite. I will leave it 64 times 64, but I will edit image, and I will pick some brown to make it look like a door. Okay, fill, zoom out, and maybe a black one to say go to. It's ugly, but who cares? It's only a prototype so far, so good. Go to level 2. Great. So this will be, I will rename it to SPR portal level 2, and I will copy that to make the same object. So we have a sprite, but if I want to drag the sprite into my game room, it will give me an error. So the error says something like, okay, you need the game object, you cannot drag and drop sprites. So I will click on objects folder in my asset browser, then go to create object, then call it same as sprite, only instead of SPR I will use obj, so it will be called obj portal level 2, and I will pick sprite SPR portal 2, and I will go to room 1 and drag and drop that portal, for example here. No, here. Okay, so if I try my game and now nothing will happen when I touch that portal. And why is that so? Because we haven't added any kind of collision event on it. So let's do that now. So object itself is nothing without events and actions, so I will now zoom it to see it better and add event. I need this door to do what? First of all, you just think for a couple of seconds, or if it's some kind of complex coding, think for a couple of minutes to understand what do you need to do and to code, and then go to coding. In this case it's very simple. I need this object obj portal level 2 to react on touching the obj player. So touching is called collision in game development, so I need to find event under the collision group of events. There it is, collision objects, and I wanted to collide with obj player 2. I think that's the one I have on screen. And I want to do what? When my door collides with obj player 2, that means when I touch, I want this room to change to room 2. So I will type here room, and I have this rooms a group of action, and there I should find the one which we are explaining today, and that is go to next room. So go to next room, it's here, just click and drag and drop it, and that's it. There is no some kind of complex code or choices there. You just pick if you want to pick something else, but leave it like this, because we have already defined our parameters earlier. And parameters are what? We have our object here, portal object, the door, with the code which says go to next room, and that will happen when this white object touches this portal, this door object. So that's all we had to do, just added one simple action, go to next room. But we need to understand that these rooms here, for example, if I make another room, no, I will first show with room 2, okay. Let's run it, and now when I touch this door with the white object, look what it will happen. Yeah, so I have now entered the room 2. You cannot see the difference because room 2 is also black and it's empty. So let's add some kind of let's add, for example, let's add lots of coins, or to make it different, or maybe a couple of free start buttons just to make it different. And let's now try it. So when my character touches the level 2, yeah, so it works, it's great. It's simple as that. So all we had to do in our case, we added the this action, go to next room, onto collision event. You can add some other event, but I also have some kind of problem here, maybe a little bit with the resolution, and that's because as I said before, the size, the width and height of this room is different than my first room, so there is some kind of scale issue, and that's also connected to, I think, camera and so on, because it's rendered differently. We can change this width and height to 800 times 600, and you can see on the screen how the level, the scene, the room resizes automatically. Simple as that. So now it will look as it's supposed to look, and I want to show a couple of other things. Here in our object we have different events, so I could add go to next room, for example. Instead of collision I could add it to key down or mouse down or something like that, and in that case you can change how your games work in terms of, maybe for example you will have some kind of level selection. So imagine I have like 10 or 12 buttons here with different levels, level 1, level 2, level 3 up to level 12, and clicking on those levels I'm entering different rooms, I'm entering different levels, so that can be your level selection menu and so on. You can, for example, add this go to next room to some kind of choice, some kind of if statement. We haven't learned that yet, but for example you can make some kind of condition where you say, okay, if my player collects like 10 coins or so, take him to the next level. So if coin number is 10, collected coin number is 10 or more, take me to the next level, and so on. I'm just trying to give you a couple of examples which you can try on your own yourself, to code it yourself if you have time, and just to show you how we can use this button, this action in different kind of situations. 11 minutes, maybe a couple of more, just to show you a couple of different tips and possible problems. The other problem we have here is that I have when I enter this room 2, I don't see my player. Why is that so, and how to solve that problem? Okay, so my player is white square and now it disappears. Why is that so, and how to solve it? I have to solve it with obj player 2 object. But first of all, why is that so? Because as we said before, computers, GameMaker Studio or any kind of software cannot read your mind or do things for you if you don't tell him what to do. So you will have to explain that to GameMaker and your computer, like telling him, okay, I want my OBJ player to be visible in all levels, on all levels, and so on. So we have to do that in our code, in our game every time, and so on. But for example, in GameMaker Studio, the developers of GameMaker Studio did that for us. Thank you. And we only thing we have to do here is check this persistent checkbox, and as it says here, instance of this object will persist between rooms. So you have explanation here, which means this object, instance of this object, will be visible and active in all rooms. So just it's simple like that. Click on persistent and let's try it now. And now my white square should be visible. Yeah, great. So I have it now on my level 2. I can add another portal here. You can do that and make it portal 3 and do it yourself. But what else have we noticed here? If you have noticed, when my white square touches this portal, it shows up here on next room on this exact position. So the moment you touch the portal here like this, you will be transferred to the next room and your position will be here. That's okay for us for this simple prototype, but sometimes you won't need that. We will explain that in later videos. Sometimes you will need something more complex, like if I touch this portal, take me here to this position in next room. I don't want to be here in this position, but I want always to start, for example, from my left border or something like that, and so on. when I touch, for example, this edge here, transform it to this edge here in next room. We will explain that in some other video. And one more thing to explain here, which will confuse you later if you maybe try to code some kind of game yourself and add more rooms. As I said before, let's create another room, create room, and it will be called room 3, which is great. But if you take a closer look to the rooms folder, where you have your rooms, room 1, room 2, 3, or whatever number of rooms you have, one of the rooms has some kind of square house icon next to it, and that means this room is this is the room which will show up first in the game. It's the starting room. So for example, if you want to start your game with room 1, you just it will start by default with the first room in the GameMaker Studio. But if you want to start with room 2, for example, our game, you just click on room 2 in this room manager, drag and drop it above to be the first one on the top, and the icon house icon will show up to left to this room, and that means this room is now active as the starting point, as the starting room. Let's try to see if that's true. Yeah, so now I don't have my player because I'm starting with room 2. That works fine, but I don't want to do that. Let me click and drag this to make this room 1 my first. Okay, that's cool. So all you have to do is click on this house icon and it will open room manager. So you know now you know how to change the room order. We have learned that too. And one more thing to explain, room 3, which is currently also bigger, let's resize it to 800 by 600, is empty. So for example, what I wanted to show you here is when we have added code here, go to next room, you should be aware that if you have a couple of rooms in your GameMaker game, the order in which they show up here in room order window, that will be used for your code here. So in the action and events, what do I want to say? I want to say go to next room is because I have this object in room 1, and the action in it says go to next room, and that will mean it will go from room 1 to room 2. But if, for example, my room 3 is below the room 1, it will now my go to next room, this code says okay, go to next room. Currently I am in room 1 and the next room is room 3. So now when I touch the door, the portal, my obj player will go from room 1 to room 3. See, so you have to be careful. What do I want to say? Just be careful with your room order. You can drag and drop it like here. Sometimes you will do that maybe by accident, sometimes you will want to do that, but using this go to next room, be careful what is the next room. In my case, this is the room 2. That's the next room if I'm in room 1, but if I change the order of the rooms, now the room 3 is the next room. So just be careful of that, and be careful which one is the starting room, the home room, the starting point of your game. That's it for this video. I think we have learned something which is very simple but also very powerful in terms of your games. You will need this lots of times, and we have showed how to go from one room to another with collision event. In later videos and maybe later more complex games, we will use some kind of other conditions, some kind of other events, combine it with other actions and so on. And you have also learned a couple of valuable tips for rooms, rooms order and so on. So yeah, 20 minutes, but I think it will help some of you to learn GameMaker Studio more and be a better game designer and game developer. That's it for now. Thanks for watching and see you soon.